Hello YouTube, this is World Wrestling Everything here, and this is a video bringing you my 10 favorite wrestlers of all time. Um, and when choosing these wrestlers, it was a mix of who I think's the best, who I've enjoyed watching, who's entertained us the most, who's inspired us the most, just like growing up and now, and obviously over a period of time. That's why they're in the greatest of all time. And yeah, if you disagree with us at all, I want you to drop in the comments just to tell us what you think, why you disagree with us, who you would put in this space instead. Don't be offended if your favourite wrestler or you're someone who's inspired you more than anyone in wrestling business isn't on here. This is entirely my choices, and like I said, I'm not saying they're the greatest wrestlers of all time. It will be the case with some of them, but not with all of them. So yeah, we'll get right into it. And the first number 10 is going to be Edge, and the reason I've got Edge in here is because the first match I ever watched it probably wasn't the first match I ever watched, but it's definitely the first match I can remember. Like, it's the first match I watched all the way through and like really paid attention. Was Edge versus Matt Hardy at Unforgiven 2005. That was insane. That was a great match. I don't remember loads from it, but I remember watching it, and I just think, like, with Edge being the first match, being in the first match I watched, I've always like thought of him as good, and I've always had like a soft spot for him. And shortly after that, in 2005, he started feuding with John Cena, and that was the feud that really got us hooked on wrestling. I was like, I'll watch that constantly. That's when I started watching Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown weekly. I know that John Cena and Edge went on SmackDown at the time, but that's when I started really getting into wrestling. Is my point. And obviously there was other aspects that I enjoyed, but that's the thing I remember. Like, looking back, and me fit like at the time, it happened. I really hated Edge because I was quite young. I loved John Cena. And but like, it wasn't until afterwards I realised like Edge was just such a good heel. It was unbelievable. But and I still believe that he's one of the greatest heels of all time. But he's also a great face. I think he's better as a heel personally. But if you can be a great face and a great heel, you really you will be really respected. And obviously in the wrestling business, it's handy. You're very, very versatile to be them things, like be both heel, could be a good face and a good heel, but a much better heel than he is a face in my opinion, but he is good at both. My favourite moment was in Edge's career. I've got three most memorable moments. The first in order will be the first one would be I remember when he speared Jeff Hardy off the that he was hanging on the wire for the trying to grab the titles, and he speared him off there when he jumped off the ladder. That was, I think everyone can remember that from WrestleMania 17. Then you've got, I mean, it wasn't a great moment for Edge, but like it's a moment he was involved in that I loved. It was when Jeff Hardy confronted him, and he was getting into a war of words with Jeff Hardy. And then later on he had that match. He was having a match with him, possibly a championship match. It was actually the day after SummerSlam 2006, like the Raw after that. And then John Cena ran to the ring, and then they brawled to the back, then outside, and then Edge got thrown into the Long Island Sound, which is like the most polluted water in the world. I mean, not in the world, but in America. And it's and then the third one would be when he returned at Royal Rumble 2011 and he eliminated Jericho, and oh, it was 2010, maybe it was Royal Rumble 2010. He eliminated Jericho and he obviously won the match and went on to WrestleMania 26, which was brilliant. And so yeah, I love Edge. He's brilliant. He's brilliant in the ring. He's brilliant on the mic, and his character is so well. He took a character that I thought was mid card for life, took him up main event, championships, WWE Championship, World Heavyweight Championship, endless titles. You know, I think there was 6-time world champion or something like that, that's just tremendous. Like for how long he was a tag team competitor. Obviously, he had endless amounts of matches with Christian, with Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, Dudley's, all like that'll be in history long after we're gone. You know, anyone watching this. So yeah, that's me reasoning for Edge. We'll move on to number 9, which is Chris Benoit, and this is this isn't a one that I loved Chris Benoit when I first started watching wrestling, but I was quite young and I can't remember loads. It was 2006. I was 8 or 9 when I started watching it properly. I remember I did love Chris Benoit when he was on telly, but it wasn't until after, like, a few years after I started watching it that when I went and looked back on his career, I went and looked back at his old stuff, I realised just how good he was. I mean, I loved him then in 2006, and then 2007, and then like after everything that happened with him, I started looking at him more, started looking at his career and that, and I thought he's just brilliant. He's the best technical wrestler of all time, in my opinion. And that is very debatable. You can debate Eddie Guerrero, I don't know, Kurt Angle, but in my opinion, it's Chris Benoit. I just loved Chris Benoit. My favourite moment in his career, they've only got one, and because it just doesn't compare to any other, was when he won the title at WrestleMania 20. Against Shawn Michaels and Triple H in a triple threat match for the title on the main event, and it was just amazing. It's sad that it doesn't get the recognition that it does, because it's probably one of the greatest matches of all time, in my opinion. I absolutely loved that match. It was tremendous, and yeah, that would definitely be. I think that would probably be my top 10 matches of all time, but and definitely my top 10 WrestleMania matches of all time. So yeah, like, obviously it doesn't get promoted for obvious reasons, which is quite sad, but I don't know the way WWE work things. Yeah, it was. I would like, looking back on his career, I thought he had an amazing career from WCW to ECW to WWE, and like, I wish. Obviously, most people know what happened with his death. Not going to get into it because it's quite a dark topic. Search it up though if you're old enough, because it's not nice stuff. And then but what I was going to say was, I would have loved to see his last match be against somebody like someone who's meant loads to him, and like his career, or like a young star who was going to become big things. I believe he was booked in to face CM Punk, and I think he died a day or two before his match with CM Punk. So I think Elijah Burke took his place. But I believe that Chris Benoit's last match was against Elijah Burke in ECW, and no, I'm not disrespecting Elijah Burke, but he didn't amount to much in the WWE. I haven't heard much of him since. Like, if it was CM Punk, I would have been good, because he went on to do big things, of course. But I would have loved it to be against like Chris Jericho or like Eddie Guerrero, obviously, who sadly passed away also. God rest his soul. or like Chavo Guerrero, or Dean Malenko, like somebody who he came in the wrestling business with, but sadly not. But yeah, that's me number 9. Chris Benoit, just the best 2 words I could use to sum up Chris Benoit is technical wrestling, or just legend. I love Chris Benoit. Should be in the Hall of Fame, but he never will be, unfortunately. But I can understand that. Right, now I'm going to move on to number 8, which is Jeff Hardy. And the reason I've chose Jeff Hardy in this list is because, like I said, I grew up watching wrestling 2005, 2006. I think Jeff Hardy returned in 2006. I remember the night he returned. I just mentioned it before with Edge. It was when he returned, he confronted Edge, had a championship match with him on that night. That started a great run for Jeff Hardy. He done well. He got, obviously, a lot of people know what's happened with Jeff Hardy with drugs. If you don't, and you're old enough, like I said before, if you're old enough, read up the stories. I don't want kids looking at the kind of stuff that he got involved with, but it was drugs, and when he was in the WWE, I'm sure he was scheduled to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania 25, and he had drug abuse problems, and he got left out, got suspended from WWE. Learned his lesson. He eventually came back. He even came. I respect the hell out of him because he came out on TV and said, "Look, I made a really big mistake. Like, this is what happened. I'm sorry. It'll never happen again." And I do believe it did happen again, but not when he was in the WWE. But that's sad. But I'm not 100% sure. But I think he is completely clean now. But anyway, Jeff Hardy, my childhood. I remember growing up and like trying to pretend to be him. Who hasn't tried his entrance? You know what I mean? Doing his entrance, Swanton Bomb on the trampoline. Yeah, like I've always aspired to be Jeff Hardy. I love Jeff Hardy. I'm a wrestler now, and if I could be like him, I would. But unfortunately, I'm not small enough. But I'll pick certain things up. There's a few wrestlers on this list that most wrestlers on this list I'll pick different things up off and kind of mimic, and like I'll never completely mimic somebody, but I'll take different things of different people, because the worst thing you can do is be a mirror image of somebody in the wrestling business. I think most people should know that. But getting back on to Jeff Hardy, I think my favourite moment of all time with Jeff Hardy was when he won the WWE Championship in a match with Triple H and Edge, like in a triple threat. I can't remember what pay-per-view it was, possibly Unforgiven, but I'm not sure. Correct us in the comments, tell us what it was, 'cause I can't remember exactly what it was. But with Edge and Triple H, Swanton Bomb on Triple H, I think, and defeated him. It was brilliant. It was one of them feel-good moments where like somebody eventually wins, like the dreams complete. You know what I mean? Like that's what they've been after their entire life. That's what it's all about in the wrestling business, really. So yeah, like Jeff Hardy. That's it for Jeff Hardy, and I'm gonna move on to number 7, which is Lita. And I was coming in when I came into wrestling in 2006. She was past her best. She was still unbelievable, but she was way past her best. I loved Lita when she was with Edge. That's one of my fondest childhood memories. Just Lita and Edge, all the shit they used to do. It was great. Some things that I really shouldn't have been watching at that age with Lita and Edge, but I did look back on it now. I just laugh. I thought it was good. I thought all the stuff they did was great because they're two unbelievable heels. But like I was saying, I never really like Lita wasn't great. She wasn't like at her best. She was great, but she wasn't great in terms of her career. She wasn't at her best in her career, and I think that like I've sat and watched stuff from before that, like the early 2000s, and she was unbelievable. She made her name in Mexico, I think, before she came to the WWE, and she could do what like a lot of guys couldn't do, like what a lot of the male superstars couldn't do, which is like massive respect in its own right. You know what I mean? Like she was just. I'm not exaggerating when I say she is one of the greatest high flyers of all time. I would have Lita in the top 5, maybe top 3 high flyers of all time. Jeff Hardy would be number 1 for me, who I've just previously talked about. But Lita would be up there, definitely in the top 5. So yeah, love Lita, always have, since day 1. So now we'll move on to number 6, which is Randy Orton. And the reason Randy Orton, I've always liked Randy Orton, even when he was a prick. Like when he back in like 2005, 2006, that's when I started watching. As I've mentioned in like every superstar I've said so far. But Randy Orton, I remember. What I remember most about Randy Orton coming into it was match with Hulk Hogan at SummerSlam. But I really wanted him to win that. Everybody else wanted Hulk Hogan to win. I wanted Randy Orton to win. I was like one of them people that really loved Randy Orton. I've never stopped liking Randy Orton. I loved Rated RKO with Edge. Like I remember, like I heard this thing and I thought no way at first, and then I sat and thought about it. The point that this person was making was that Rated RKO they were like just as good as DX, but not as revolutionary, which I totally agree with now. Like I thought they were just as good as D-Generation X, but they just didn't go for as long. They went as revolutionary. But Edge and Orton, absolutely brilliant trio, a duo, should I say. Stuff they've done on the cutting edge with Ric Flair, although it was like quite gory. Yeah, I want to say cold, brutal. It was quite a sick thing to look at, but like as a heel, as looking at like judging a heel, that was so good thing to do. They've done so many good things. I remember when it was Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair versus Rated RKO, and they tied Shawn Michaels up on the ropes and just beat the hell out of Ric Flair, that was just brilliant. Like obviously it wasn't brilliant to watch, but it is really when you look at it as a wrestling fan, a heel fan. Yeah, I love Orton, always have. And obviously like I wasn't around to look at his Evolution days, but looking back on him, he was just awesome. Like he was I think he was better than Batista. He was best out of the two that they brought up. Going through his career, I think the best spot in his career was probably like the best like time in his career, if not now. I think it was 2009 when he was like feuding with Cena, like super bad, like that I Quit match, the Hell in a Cell match, the Iron Man match, like all that. That was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. Randy Orton and John Cena, like I love them and I love them both. So like them going at it and them kind of matches were just, it was like a dream for me. Like I absolutely loved it. Orton and Cena was brilliant, and then Orton progressing I felt like he kind of slowed down in 2000 and 2012. I'd probably say didn't do an awful lot, and then he kind of like 2013 reinvented himself. He obviously won the WWE Championship, held it until WrestleMania. Well, he didn't completely. He lost it a few times, but he got back. Yeah, and I held it at WrestleMania, and then obviously Bryan won. But Orton now in the WWE today, I think he's in the current best position he's been in since 2009, if not better than then, because he's like in this role where like everybody loves him. He's the top. I'd say he's probably the top babyface in the company today. Well, him and Dean Ambrose probably. So he's not doing too bad for himself really at the moment. And now I'll move on to number 3. I mean number 5, should I say? I don't know where I got number 3 from. Number 5, which is Paige. WWE Diva Paige. And a lot of people are going to criticise me on this one. They're going to say why you got this girl so far up. But nobody understands how inspirational she's been to me. Like, personally, she's like one of the biggest inspirations to me, as well as the next guy that I'm going to show on this. She's been so inspirational to me because I'm like from England, same as her. I'm a wrestler. So growing up, like, it's the same kind of thing. Like, she went, like, me, like, it's like me and I can relate so much to her. If you hear her speak about her stories and that from like the past, I get choked up talking about it sometimes because it's like so relatable. And like, if I ever got to meet her, I don't even know what I'd say, but like, if I ever got to meet her like 10 minutes, it would be like a dream come true. She's definitely the biggest female inspiration I've ever had. She's the second or joint biggest inspiration ever, like, in my life. Absolutely love her. Like, the stuff she's went through, and like I've been through the same kind of stuff. Like, growing up, like, wanting to be yourself. Loads of people trying to judge you. Just wanting to be like your own unique. Like, I've been exactly the same my entire life. And then obviously wrestling, trying to make a name for yourself in Britain, it's not easy. So it's really absolutely love her. Absolutely just when I remember when she did, I loved her in NXT, but when she debuted on Raw, I was like so happy. Like, I actually did. I still get emotional to this day when I look at her and when I watch her interview for like when she first won the Divas title. So like a debut match against AJ on Raw. That was emotional as shit. So yeah, like, obviously I think most people know about her family. Like, they were all wrestlers, still are. I don't think her dad wrestles as much anymore. But he does coach people. What I was gonna say was, I'm a wrestler currently, and I'm thinking in a few years' time I'm gonna go and train with her dad, because he's got a called the it's called the I think it's called the World Wrestling. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's a WEW, and it's she talks about it on the Chris Jericho podcast, and there's also a really good documentary on her and her family, and it's like her from when she was like wrestling in Britain to when she's wrestling in WWE. I suggest you all check it out. It's called The Wrestlers Fighting With My Family. That's The Wrestlers Fighting With My Family. It's really good. You can watch it on Daily Motion. You might be able to get it on YouTube. So yeah, like, she's such a big inspiration to me. Absolutely love her. And I'm going to move on to number 4 now. And number 4 is CM Punk. And the reason, there's so many reasons, but before I start, I'm going to say that number 3 and 4 was so hard to like separate. And you'll see who number 3 is next. But number 3 and 4 was so hard to separate. It was like, but like I'll explain why for number 4 soon. But number 3 is CM Punk, and the reason, there's so many reasons. Like he was the person originally who was like drove me to really want to wrestle. Like I watched, it was like early last year, it might have been the year before. I watched these the WWE Beyond the Ring, where it was, and it's CM Punk, the best in the world. It's such a good documentary. It shows you basically how he had like nothing as a kid and built his way up to like, and he was wrestling in his back garden to like wrestling in like sports halls at local places, and then how he just continuously got higher and higher. He got offered to go to different places. Next thing you know, he's wrestling Eddie Guerrero. You know what I mean? It just shows like you can be anything you want to be. He didn't have much of a family. His family didn't support him. So yeah, it was just your family didn't really support him, and he's just a massive inspiration. It's not only the way he got to wrestling; it's the fact that he's another person I relate to so much, because he speaks his mind, doesn't take any shit off anyone. That's exactly that I'm like. If I've got something to say to somebody, no matter how nice it is, I'll fucking say it. Like, you know what I mean? Nobody can tell me what to do. I'll say it. If I don't feel I'm being treated right, I'll say it. It's like, speak my mind. The fact that he's straight edge like inspires me so much. I've never had a drink in my life, and I never will, and I'm 17 years old. I mean, I've had a little bit when I was younger, like 11 or 12, but I've never been drunk. I've never had that much. I've never had more than a glass, you know what I mean? It's never been much. And I never will do alcohol, do drugs, do smoke, anything. It's not good. And in a perfect world, I'd have nobody doing it. I'd have no one drinking, no one smoking. Some people say that's boring. I call it sensible. And people say, oh, well, sensible's boring. Fuck you, you know what I mean? It's a lifestyle choice. You do it because you want to do it. I've got nothing against people who do it. I've got nothing against people who drink, smoke, or, well, drink or smoke, especially drink. I've got nothing against people who drink. If you smoke, well, that's your mistake. If you do drugs, you're a fucking idiot. And I've always been inspired by CM Punk, and like even before I became a massive fan of him, I probably became a fan of him in about 2010 with the Straight Edge Society. But when like even when he came in ACW and he said like, I'm straight edge, I don't drink, don't smoke, don't do drugs, my obsession is wrestling, that's when I was just like, you're the man. Like I was never a massive fan of him then, but I just thought like you got it right, you know what I mean. And then I've just never thought it was a good idea with being straight edge. I've always thought straight edge was a good idea. I've always hated the idea of like drinking, smoking, you know what I mean. I never done, never will. And like with CM Punk, I've just thought he was just like, he was a guy, he knew his worth, he knew how fucking good he was, so he just took it upon himself to go out there. He grabbed everything. He didn't get any opportunity. The opportunities he did get, he took it. The little opportunities he got, he took everything, and he's made the most. He is I reckon currently he's the most in demand person in sports. And what I mean by that is, when he left WWE, he could have done anything, fucking anything he wanted to do. That's why he went. That's why he went straight into the UFC. People say, oh well, he should have went to the lower leagues of MMA before going to the UFC. Fuck that. He wanted to make a name for himself in more than one sport. You're not going to make a name for yourself by going to a lower than you already are. He left WWE to go MMA. That's the bottom line. And like I completely respect him. He's went in there not known. I completely like his mindset. He says, you know what it is, I could dominate in MMA, or I could get the shit kicked out of me. And he said, so I'm either going to go in there, kick someone's ass, or I'm going to go in there and get my ass kicked. So I think that's the best way to go about things, open-minded. He's a massive inspiration to me. Like, I can relate to his stories so much, but there's like, I know I went through a few things with Paige before, but I couldn't possibly get into the amount of stuff with CM Punk when I've got the other three people in this list to do. But yeah, CM Punk is my biggest inspiration in life and as a wrestler, and that's a fact. And that's who I was saying that Paige is either joint or just below. So now I'll move on to number 3, which is John Cena. And this is the one I'm gonna get most stick for, and it's because he's so hated now. And then when you put him up with the all time. A lot of people, before I get into this thing with John Cena, a lot of people are going to say, why don't you have Rock and Austin or like Undertaker? That they've never appealed to us massively. I've never liked them. Like, I like them now, but like I never liked them growing up because like the Rock and Austin weren't there when I started watching it. I've never massively liked the Undertaker. I was always the guy who wanted him to get beat at WrestleMania. Nobody else did. So but yeah, John Cena, like, the reason he's here on my list is because this is going to be a similar pattern for the next 3, but there's more reasons for the other 2 as well. But number 3, John Cena, is I've watched him growing up and I've supported him growing up all my life. There's never been one moment where I thought, also, like, I don't like him anymore. I like him to this day. I'm not a massive fan of John Cena. I'm not saying I'm his biggest fan anymore or anything. But when I was younger, John Cena was the man. I like John Cena, and I liked the 2 guys ahead of us, and ahead of him in this list. And in my childhood, they'll be the 3 best guys, and John Cena was a massive influence. Like, I absolutely loved it. He was the guy. He was one of the guys who I thought when I was younger, like before I could have actually made the decision to do it, he was like the guy where I thought, like, oh, I want to be a wrestler. Like, before I could actually like do anything about it, he made his thing, I want to be a wrestler. So did Dave Bautista and Undertaker, but they aren't on this list. But it's because they didn't have a big influence on us. But yeah, with John Cena, it's also, when I was younger, it's like the never give up attitude. Like, I've always had that since I was young. I'll not get into it now, but like, I went through a lot when I was younger, like when I was really, really young, like, and I never gave up. It's cliche, but I never backed down. I'll go into that on a different time, so at the time of the place. But so yeah, that's me reasons for John Cena. Now move on to number 2, which is Triple H. Which with Triple H, I honestly believe he's an absolute legend in the business. Not just in WWE, but in just the wrestling business. He's got such an eye for the game, if I do say so. That's very cringy, so I apologise. But yeah, he's got a lot of, he's so intelligent when looking at the game of wrestling, and when I was watching him growing up, he was always a face. Well, mainly like when I first started watching wrestling in like from 2005, growing up, he was a face. Not too long after I started watching it, he reunited with Shawn Michaels and DX. When he was supposed to be in a match of the Spirit Squad. Well, he was in a match of the Spirit Squad. And then like, I grew up watching the guys that I grew up watching, like Triple H, like the guys who like were around in 2006, who were the top guys. You know who I'm talking about. And like, I've always loved Triple H, and then like obviously after that I've looked back on his stuff from like 95 onwards, and he's just phenomenal. I've watched his stuff in WCW when he was called Terror Rising, and he was brilliant then, like from being really young, and then the Hunter Hearst Helmsley thing, brilliant. And then obviously when he became Triple H, that was when he really hit his stuff. When he went into DX with everyone like Billy Gunn, Shawn Michaels, Road Dogg, X-Pac, all them, China. When he one thing that sticks in my mind from like I didn't watch it live, of course, because I don't believe I was alive. It might have been the year I was born, but I think it was '98 when they went to WCW's arena, and in the Omni tank. That was pure gold. Like one of the most insane. No one will ever replicate anything like that ever again. Like, and I'll say my favourite moment in the career of Triple H was it's a hard one. Like it would probably be a recent one. It'd either be when he reunited with Shawn Michaels in 2006. When he returned to fight Brock Lesnar, that was insane. Like when I say return to fight Brock Lesnar, that was after he F5 Vince McMahon. It was in 2013, I do believe, before WrestleMania. And then it would probably be it would be Undertaker and Hell in a Cell. That was my favourite match, my favourite Triple H match, and one of my favourite matches of all time. It was just how like with Hell in a Cell, he like petitioned to get the match so much, like Undertaker petitioned to get the match so much, and he did what Triple H wouldn't give it to him, and he eventually gave it to him, and then he was in a match with like Undertaker, who he has an amazing respect for, and then he was in like the referee, his best friend Shawn Michaels, and the match was just all perfect. It all made sense. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, that's Triple H, and then my final one is trying to get a bit of a countdown, you know. Are you ready? God, that was really cringy as well. But number one is Shawn Michaels, and there's not much words I can use to describe Shawn Michaels. If I could use one sentence to describe him, it would be he is the greatest in-ring performer of all time. And I just like he's so smooth. He was like his ring work. He makes everything look so goddamn easy. He was just so good. Just fucking amazing. He inspired me because looking back on his story from like 1998 when he left and with all his drug abuse, how he recovered and came back stronger. I love the fact that he came back to wrestle Triple H at SummerSlam 2002, and he I don't think personally I don't think Shawn Michaels would have ever came back to the WWE, to wrestling, if he didn't think he could do it better than he had ever done it, and that's exactly what he did. He was amazing. Like, to pick one match out of Shawn Michaels' career would be so hard, but the one match I can say, because I honestly think this is, if not it's definitely one, it'd be in my top 5 of the greatest matches in the history of wrestling, would be WrestleMania 25, Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. That was absolutely phenomenal, you know, like, I've never been a massive fan of The Undertaker. I've always knew how important he was, and I've always valued him as, like, and I don't think he was, like, until about 2008, 2009, he wasn't, like, phenomenal. I've said a few cringy things in this video, but yeah, he wasn't like amazing. Like, if you ever seen The Undertaker wrestle, like, if I don't know, if it was a young guy with the exact same things as the Undertaker, like the exact same moves, the way he moved and everything, he wasn't. You wouldn't have thought he was a legend, to be fair. Like, but then 2008 he hit, and I don't know what happened. I think it was 2008, 2007 when he started feuding with Edge. That was when he really hit his peak, and I think he was amazing from that point onwards. He's getting too old now, and his match with Bray Wyatt wasn't brilliant, but when Shawn Michaels and the Undertaker went, they went. Like, I remember I watched his match watched their match when they take on Shawn Michaels with at Bad Blood 96, 97. I can't remember which Bad Blood it was, but that was 97. Goes when Kane debuted. That match was brilliant. Like, obviously Shawn Michaels got beat to hell, but he sold the shit out of that match. It was brilliant. And obviously we can't talk about Shawn Michaels without talking about DX. Greatest faction of all time, in my opinion. And the matches I've seen with Shawn Michaels versus Triple H were all brilliant. Like the one at SummerSlam 2002 was amazing. And obviously, I mentioned earlier, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Chris Benoit will forever be remembered as one of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history, in my opinion. And like, it's sad that Shawn Michaels is gone now, but he is old now. Like, he's 48. He could have kept going, but he would have never been at his best, and I think that's his reason. Like, if you need to watch his DVD, it's called Shawn Michaels, Mr. WrestleMania, and he talks about, like, he says that when he came back in 2007, not 2000, it was 2007. He said when after he fought Vince McMahon, no, he beat Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21, should I say, and then he said, like, WrestleMania 22 was just like him having a night off, like, just like no pressure against Vince McMahon. And then 23, he said that from that point forward, he just wanted to help people, and he helped John Cena, and for like, he just helped a load of people, and then like WrestleMania 24, he had like the one, I think he described it as one of the most special matches of his career, because it was against that was his inspiration growing up, like Ric Flair, and he got to wrestle him in his last ever match. It was his mentor, which was just, it's a heartfelt moment, it's just like beautiful to see. Then of course WrestleMania 25 and 26 against The Undertaker, and he got put out by perhaps his best opponent of all time. And he shook his hand after the match. I don't think you could ask any better than that, guys. Like, that's just amazing. So yeah, that is my top 10 of all time. I'm sorry it's been on for this long, but it's very there's a lot to talk about when you're talking about this many superstars and how much they've meant to me personally. So yeah, thank you for listening. Go and like me, go and follow us on Instagram, like me Twitter page, follow me, follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. My Instagram page has just recently reached 1,000 followers. I'm currently on about 1,030, so thank everyone who follows us on Instagram. I love you all. So yeah, go like, comment, subscribe on this video, and do all the things I've just told you. Follow us on all them, like me posts. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I love you all. See you. Bye.